Hello, hello, and welcome to the Fall for Watercolor Challenge. We are going to be painting a campfire today, which I'm super excited about. We are going to be talking about how to make something look like it's glowing and a lot about blending today. So let's go ahead and start with, I'm going to do some like little cross logs for our campfire. So go ahead and mix up a brown. Remember, you can do this by blending things on the opposite side of the color wheel. So like red and green or blue and orange. I've already have some on my palette, so no sweat there. So maybe something like that. And just a little something like this. Don't worry and make it a little bit small, kind of at the base of your thing, of your painting. And no worries about making this super detailed. We'll add some more detail in a little bit, keep it kind of light, and we'll go from there, okay? So here's just my basic log structure. And I am going to take, I'm actually going to take a moment and blow dry this really fast. Well, I don't know. Let's just put like a little bit of yellow, actually. Okay. I do kind of want it to blend into the logs a little bit. And so grab some yellow, some orange. Let's go ahead and just add like our little basic flame. Okay. And then I am going to just use this as a guide. So let's go ahead and like wait for this to dry. I'm going to use my blow dryer. I'll catch you back really fast. And this is just going to give us scale for our fire. And we're going to do some cool blending stuff. Hold on. All right. I don't know why, but that took forever. But now what you're going to do is you're going to take a large brush and wet your whole area. If you have a spray bottle, you can also just kind of squirt it. Let's see. And then spread it around with your brush. Make sure your brush is clean. My paint water is pretty dirty, but I'm feeling too lazy to do anything about it. So we're just gonna cover our whole painting area. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want that glowy feeling. And I put the logs in there just so we would know where our campfire is. If your logs are super saturated, they might bleed a little bit. And that's honestly okay because we're like in the dirt, you know. Mine's bleeding a little bit. It's fine. So now you're going to grab your brightest yellow. I'm using Hansa Yellow Light. It has like a lemon yellow flavor to it. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with our bright yellow. All right. And we're just going to kind of make a glow here. All right. And then I'm going to clean off my brush. And I am going to take my damp brush and just kind of wiggle it around that glow to make that blend really nice and soft there. And then we can grab a little bit of orange, okay? And I'm going to take that just slightly outside of our yellow halo, okay? The reason why I'm doing this is because I want to have a little bit more control over where it's blending to. So I'm just taking my brush and just gently coaxing it to meet our yellow. And then I'm going to blend that out. So I'm going to clean up my brush. I'm going to go to the outside of my orange. And I'm just going to gently wiggle that line around, like a little rainbow shape almost. Okay, so now we've got this nice glow here happening. So you may be having issues with your paper drying too fast. If that's the case, just keep your spray bottle and keep wetting it, or you can kind of go in layers. So let's imagine, here, I'm going to mix up a little bit more orange and then we can kind of do a little layer. I'll show you what it looks like to work in layers. Okay. So I've got a nice little kind of reddish orange situation happening here. It's going to start to dry over in this corner. I can already tell. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do about that. So first I've taken my clean brush. I've kind of cleaned my brush off. I've wiped it on my paper towel. And now I'm going to go into these little tendrils and blend it in with the orange that came before it. Okay. Nice, nice. Okay. I want to blend it in a little bit closer even. Okay. And then this side is totally drying. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking a wet paintbrush and I'm dragging it out across the edge. And then I'm just going to bring that moisture all the way to the edge of my painting. So like into the perimeter of my painting. And by kind of re-wetting it from the wet part to the dry part, and then fully covering that rest of the dry part, we're going to avoid any of those weird little blendy blend lines. Okay. So here we are. Got our nice little glowing fire. I might add like a little bit of red here along the outside. Okay. So we have done this all wet and wet. We can also do this in layers. So I'll kind of show you that on top of this. So let's take a pause. We are going to wait for it to dry, or you're going to use your blow dryer. You know what I'm going to do. All right. So let's pause. Yeah, I'll be right back. All right, we're back. And I did end up going to get some clean water for you guys. This is getting kind of gross. So I am grabbing kind of a bigger brush, and I'm going to use my brush to wet the scene here. And I want to intensify this, this blending situation. So these are kind of two ways we can go about it. We can start like all wet and wet and do the blending, or we can do it kind of in layers. So what I'm going to do is ooh, this brush is a little unclean. Cool. I'm going to just wet this area. Okay, and I'm not going to worry too much about the perimeter here, mostly just around the fire. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a second layer of yellow. Okay, so I'm going to drop that in. And I'm just going to blend this out really gently all the way out, okay? And I kind of love this technique of using like 2 layers and different techniques. We're going to get some really, I love a layer. So I think it always looks best when done in a couple layers. But I like that we kind of got the beginning part done in 1 layer so we can get a good guideline for where we want everything. And then this is where we're going to really make it pop. Okay, so I haven't really blended out much outside that yellow, but because our whole sheet is wet, it's going to be a really soft blend line rather than the yellow just kind of being like in like a rainbow shape. We're going to have just a really soft bleed of that yellow fading out. Just tapping my slightly damp brush around to just distribute a little bit of that yellow. Okay, awesome. Now, I really want to kind of lighten what's happening here. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but I'm taking my paper towel and I kind of want to lighten around that middle flame just to make it look really hot. So I'm wetting my brush and we're going to use the lifting technique. So previously we've used our brush just as a dry brush or a paper towel, but what you can use is your brush damp and just kind of tap the area you want to loosen. And then I'm going to take my paper towel and just yoink that up. And it's not going to work super great because I've blow dried this. So it's going to be subtle, but I like that you can see this little glowing perimeter. All right, so now we're going to have to wait and do another dry. So hang tight. I'll see you in a bit. All right, so we're back. My sheet is dry mostly. If you are working with some practice paper, or perhaps you've noticed that your watercolor paper kind of starts to feel a little like stressed out after a bunch of layers of water, you might want to pause here until we get to adding the dark. If your watercolor paper is holding up, and by that I mean it's not like starting to get like pills or the texture is not rubbing off, So let's go ahead and add a second or multiple. It's not second. I don't know what layer we're on. But let's just go ahead and add another like light layer of water. And again, I don't know if I've said this yet, but we just want like a nice covering where things are wet, but not super wet. Wet enough that we can have it be still wet as we're painting this section. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in my orange kind of right in here. And the reason why this is different is this orange isn't going to blend in with the yellow layer. It's going to sit on top. So what we're doing is blending it into the water, not into the yellow. And I like this because then we can come into the yellow and have a nice, I don't know, commingling between the colors that we didn't really get last time. So we're looking a little rainbowy here. So I'm gonna just take my brush and wiggle that around until it's kind of where I want it to go. And don't worry too much if it just looks kind of weird around the edges, because we're gonna get to that. Get excited. And you might notice that if you come in here with like a blob of water, I'm just going to show you because why not? It's going to push the paint away and that's going to create a little bloom there. So I'm going to leave mine because, you know, I love bloom. So if water spills or you kind of bring in more water than you meant to, totally okay. We're going to dry this one more time and then we're going to add a dark layer. So get psyched. All right, see you in a bit. All right, so for this next section, we're going to go ahead and re-wet the whole thing. Those of you who took pause to not stress your paper out too much, come on back with me. And you can kind of leave a circle around the fire. If you've already painted over it, no biggie. I'm going to leave it just around that like very close circle. So this part is dry and the rest of it is wet. We probably won't even get that close to it, but here we are. So then I'm going to take I'm going to use my Payne's Gray as my dark color. I'm going to take my Payne's Gray and I'm going to just add a dollop around the edge of my painting. Make a nice little square. I like to make my painting like, I don't know, in terms of water, like there's definitely water on top of the page. It's still, I can see it. It's shiny. My page is shiny. But it's not like if I tilt my page, the water isn't going to kind of spill over in little bead droplets. And the reason, so my folks whose pages dry really fast, you'll want to like, you know, you can really load it up because you're going to want to have time to like get to this and have it blend nicely. So you can see I'm using all these blending techniques that we did to kind of bring this dark color closer to our fire. So I'm cleaning off my brush, getting it damp, or getting it dry. So my page is a little damp. And then I'm just going around the edge. And this is coaxing the water to come closer to where my slightly damp brush is. And I think I could probably add a little more dark. Okay, so I'm going to just repeat this process until it's as dark as I want it. And so as we've added in the Payne's Gray, it's added some moisture in to our page. And that's keeping the whole thing wet. And I like to go gradually. I mean, I really could have just loaded on up and allowed it to just start this dark initially, but I always find you can always add more layers. It's really hard to take back layers once you've already committed. So, okay. I like where we're at here. I'm going to mix up a little Payne's Gray with some water. Okay, so we have kind of a medium zone here. And I'm going to just do that around this edge. See how that kind of softens it and gives us a transition. And then I'm taking a clean brush, slightly damp. Ooh. And if you find your paint is creeping up too much, just add some clean water and that'll kind of hooks it back where it goes. Just kind of flood it out there. I kind of want this to come a little squiggly. And I feel like I want this line here to be a little softer. So I added just a little bit more paint and I'm just going to wiggle. We love a wiggle. And I'm not doing like a straight circle here. I kind of want it to be a little more, I don't know, organic. But I don't know if I like that line that I just added. I'm going to grab a little paper towel and kind of blot it out. You can also, if you get too much, you can always use a paper towel to kind of blot it out too. That's another option. I am liking where this is. You know, I would totally add another layer, but I think my paper is starting to get a little stressed out. So before everything dries, I'm just going to add a nice spill of my Payne's Gray around the edge to make it nice and crisp and super dark in those corners. We're still wet and wet here, so we can totally keep doing this and get like a gentle transition. If it is looking like your paper is starting to dry, maybe don't add this last step. Okay. I'm kind of rounding the corners of this because following the shape of the campfire. You know, campfire is not square. All right. So now that we've done that, I'm actually going to add a few more little details to our fire. Oh, you know what? I wish that I hadn't done that line here because do you see how it's created this little outline around the fire? Okay, this is a great learning lesson. So let's get a clean brush. Okay, make sure all that dark color is out of there. Whew. Okay, very clean brush. And what I'm going to do now that my brush is dry is I'm going to just wiggle it over that line. Okay, it should still be a little damp. And by wiggling it along this line, it's going to soften that hard dry line of where the water hit the yellow. And that's going to make that transition still appear smooth. Oh, what a good, I did it on purpose so I could show you that. Totally. That was totally my plan. Okay, that side's a little drier. So I'm adding more water, slightly damp. Okay, so that side is not coming out as much, and that's okay. So let's add a little bit more detail to our log. So I'm going to just do like a little definition here on this log. You've got like a little stick here. And I think I'm going to make the background log a little bit darker. Kind of make some like wood grain on it or something. And maybe like some little coal kind of things. So I'm go into my black or make a black. Add some little scumbly situation there. And maybe just kind of like, oh yeah, there we go. Okay. And then if you wanted to add some little like flame details, now would be a great time. You do a little bit of this like fire engine red orange color and just add like a little like, woo. Oh, too much. It's bleeding into the edge. Little paper towel to the rescue. All right. And it's a little more intense than I wanted it to be. So I'm just kind of blotting it with my paper towel. Well, now I'm adding more. So who knows even. Okay. Yeah. I feel good about that. So I'm going to just slightly blot it again. And there we go. there is our campfire. So you can apply this to a lot of different techniques. You can do this with candles. You can do this with like a light shining from anywhere, really. This is how I blend my petals, like when I'm shifting colors for like a soft color transition in flowers. So this is such a great technique to use, like really implementing layers of the wet and wet and playing around with mixing colors and blending out colors between different colors or just like one color at a time. So you can kind of play around with that and see what your flavor is, but there's your campfire. All right. Happy painting, folks. Remember, if it's October 2024 and you're just stumbling upon this video, it is not too late to sign up for the Fall for Watercolor Challenge. If you are, excuse me, and you want to participate in the future, you can click the link and that will sign you up for the next time we have a challenge. So definitely check it out. All right, we'll be back tomorrow for a witch's hat. See you soon. Bye.